Wow. Well, we had to rapidly make cocktails after we finished eating delicious
Well, welcome to the show. I'm glad you rushed.
pork.
For the audience of one, I told you, as he was panicked about being late to the show.
Well, look at that.
Look at that.
We have done something. We have done a thing. We have got a check mark on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, and Instagram.
And what does the check mark mean? Are you a good
It means
student?
we're alive.
Oh, I thought it meant maybe you were a good student. Well, I'm going to give a shout out and say, hi, Desiree. Thanks for joining us on the show. You're our, you get our shout out of the night because I know you're here and listening.
Yes, we spent the day talking to some amazing people.
Yep, did a bunch of interviews and have some great ones tomorrow. So the month of January, as usual, is lined up with some.
What's coming up tomorrow?
Stuff. Well, honestly,
it's
a surprise to me.
It's Mike Simpson. Yes, it is. Mike Simpson was a special operator, which means he was a badass in the military. He was a Green Beret, and then went to medical school, and then went back to being Green Beret as an ER doctor on the front lines. And
sounds
meanwhile,
like a deja vu interview.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he became an expert in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and was on the Hunting Hitler show.
Sounds like a perfect Joe Rogan guest. I'm guessing since he's been going to be on our show tomorrow, he will be on Rogan soon.
He'll be on Rogan, Drew, or Sean Ryan. You're welcome.
And we will stay second rate.
Here we
podcast.
are. We are B-list hosts. We are B-list hosts.
We're happy
with A-list guests.
Guests, that too.
Have another drink.
We're happy. We're happy. We're happy to funnel our fine guest list straight up the chain to the.
Maybe we should just be bookers.
Bookers. We should be or vetting all these people for Rogan. He should give us kudos. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
that's got to be worth at least $8 million.
What's on the schedule of activities for tonight's Doctales, Tim?
We have 3 stories.
As usual, those will morph into more, but little hints about the stories.
Number 1,
just a hint.
Do people poop in line at Disney?
Well, that's a wide open question. Number 2.
Is your fried rice trying to kill you?
And number 3.
What in the name of all things that are holy is a door plug, and why did it leave an airplane at 16,000 feet?
Someone sat down on the toilet and it vaporized straight into the atmosphere.
Door plug, not back door plug.
Well, let's leave it at that, and we'll find out more. And what's the drink of the evening, says Stacy. Okay, why don't we just get to that first instead of midway through the evening?
This is a blue ice. It was supposed to be a dirty martini, and then it just got more martini and a little less dirty. So this is what I would call a salad, because it does have vegetables in it.
Okay. So blue ice is the name of a vodka brand. We've had
from
this
Idaho
numerous times in our cup bird, and it's a potato vodka. And my internet just fragged, but is blue ice from Idaho as well?
Yeah, and strangely, there are some vodka drinking trolls in our house, and half gallons don't last very long around here.
Okay, so I'm going to be getting the Gold Star Award at the ABC Spirits store if I have to keep going back, and they're going to be calling the 12-step program if I return for your problems.
It's like when you go in there and you buy it, and then they're just like, we got a live one for you.
So they do make organic wheat vodka, huckleberry lemonade vodka, huckleberry, and double espresso vodka. Heck yes, or hell yes, as I like to say, in private behind at the closed doors and not on TV. Shit's my favorite word, though. Sorry. Oops. But anyway, yeah, we really like Blue Ice. They're really good. Tim likes it by the half gallon. It is a dirty salad because Tim does not like salad.
No, because
by
plants are
any
trying to kill you.
means. Yes.
And interestingly, this last week I got a case of the ticulitis.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait, before you get to that though, because of the plants are trying to kill you, I'll share mine later. Keep with the story.
So May went to Trader Joe's, and I love Trader Joe's prepared foods. They are really good. I don't know if they're good for you, but they're good. They're good.
The prices are good.
And the food is good.
He doesn't know because he doesn't go there.
And
he just eats it.
Man, like when I do that, I look like a freaking Shar-Pei. So, anyways,
You digress.
I digress a lot, actually. So
here's your
ate
Ritalin.
bean, corn, chicken chowder.
But that wasn't the name of it. What was it called?
I don't know.
It was
what it was called is it's stuck in my colon.
Chicken chili salad.
And gave me a colon infection of diverticulitis. And because we just have a stockpile of medications.
Let's talk about how that progressed. That diverticulitis. So we went to our date day over the weekend. And just like any other date day, Tim kept running to the bathroom to pee because he's got the bladder of a woman. And he kept saying his bladder,
wasn't that bad.
His bladder was unhappy.
Everything hurt.
Oh, so he had a honeymoon cystitis.
And I wish. And my guts were hurting. And we had to drive a fair ways to get to Kissimmee to the Meekum auction, which was delicious, I shall add. And then, man, by the time we got home the next day, like I was sick. Like I couldn't hardly sleep. I might have had a fever. And I'm like, I know, I've had this before. I know what it is. I got diverticulitis. This sucks. I'm going to have to take antibiotics. It's going to like jack my microbiome. I'm going to be drinking a ton of kefir or kefir if you're Celandino.
And do doctors doctor themselves?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. We play doctor. We act doctor. And
thankfully he did not need a rectal exam because I wasn't about to do that.
Well, that was a loss. But anyways, it was
for some.
It was
anyway, he's doing much better.
And
he didn't follow my instructions and was quickly on a solid diet sooner than later. And lo and behold, he's got vegetables in his drink now. But that you have to be careful if you have diverticulitis. Everybody can react differently. Some people can't do seeds, like in raspberry jam and tomatoes. No, but if you're eating,
it's the indigestible.
Do you eat raspberry jam? Though?
It's the undigestible husk.
Well, do you pick
right?
the seeds out of your raspberry jam?
So I don't eat raspberry jam.
Yes.
So the beans are coated with the lectin shield, and then corn is just stupid, and no one should eat it. You should only drink corn, and
well, it's also got a shield.
It's got a shield, and then that indigestible shield gets stuck in a pocket of your large intestine, and then it tries to kill you. And like literally, as much as we try to shat upon the pharma industry, thank God for antibiotics, because I would have been dead 20 years ago from my ruptured appendix. And I've probably been dead 2 or 3 times after that from the ticulitis. Meanwhile, it's just an inconvenience. I have to sit on the couch and watch football whilst taking antibiotics and not even leaving the comfort of my home. So yes, modern medicine is largely good. It's also largely corrupt, but that's another story.
Doctors, you even had a doctor that made a house call for you.
Who, you?
Oh. What? I'm not a doctor?
Well, you are a doctor, but it's like a permanent house call.
Well, technically it is.
It's house call, booty call.
Ooh. Maid call, cleaning lady call.
Yes.
Laundry service call. Anyway, we go on.
Okay.
All right. So,
first story.
So, wait. I was going to share.
Okay, share.
Before you got going. What I am sipping on this evening, mine's a little different, and mine is the Kettle One Botanicals. The grapefruit and rose essenced vodka. but I have a new mix for you all to try if you can get it. It's called Aura Bora Herbal Sparkling Water. This one is a lavender cucumber essence, sugar-free, 0 sugars and calories, flavored, sparkling with real lavender extract. So it's actually pretty good once it's mixed. I tried it straight and, I thought it was
It kind of
meh.
Not mixed. It kind of tastes like.
But it's a carbonated water with natural cucumber flavor, lavender flavor, and in a drink, it is it's very fragrant. As Stacy said, it's got a lot of essence mixed with that Kettle One. Really light, summery, refreshing. Although it has not been summery here in Florida.
I know
it has been very stormy.
It was 68
and
today.
cold.
It was 68.
I got my cashmere on.
It's 68. It's freaking freezing.
Yeah. So I've been cold all day. Well, our house stays cold. The problem is it cools off at night. We cool it down to 68 to sleep. We live in a bunker that's concrete. It stays insulated. The sun comes up. It gets to 68 outside. It stays 68 in the house. I don't turn the heat on because I don't want to spend money. And I'm cold.
Next week it's supposed to get into the 30s.
Ooh.
When it gets into the 30s, the iguanas fall out of the trees. I cannot wait for the iguana rain.
Yeah, but it'll be at night and you won't be able to see it on
the
video.
Bam, 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 bam. We don't have many up here. You have to go a little further south, towards Naples. But hey, whatever.
Yeah. All right.
First story.
Do
people poop in the lines for rides at Disney? Yes.
Okay, wait.
Of course.
So that says resistance equipment is seen in the queue for a ride of the Resistance at Star Wars.
It's about
Galaxy's
because some
Edge
guy
inside Disneyland. And okay, so that's a photo showing some equipment in this line. But what is the people poop where in the
lineup?
Disney?
In the lineup.
What?
I read the article. So people literally they're so jacked about getting on a certain ride.
This is Disneyland, so we should clarify because this is California.
It's all Disney.
This is Disneyland.
Right.
If you read the headlines, it comes from Anaheim.
I know.
People in
Just
Florida don't poop
in the streets.
Street.
Yes.
People in California.
No, but people from California come to Orlando and then shat upon the Orlando because they.
Nah. We're keeping it clean over here. Okay, what's happening in California?
Literally. They interviewed these Disney employees, and they're like,
what, where, and when?
They interviewed Disney employees, and they said, this is not uncommon.
What?
Yeah, like it happens with some frequency where somebody just has to get on the Pirates of the Caribbean and literally drops trow and leaves a pile in a corner, literally causing a hazmat problem so they can get on the frickin' ride.
All right, let me break this down.
Yes.
Number one.
That is a thing.
Number one, how long is the wait to get on the ride? Because if you don't have forewarning and you're in a line that long, that's a long line. Number two, if you have to go that badly, why can't you just flip in, give up your spot, and go be a decent human being and not pollute the world with your fecal matter and your bright ass cheeks? And be respectable and just come back another time. Like, what the heck?
Why are you asking that question? We came through 4 years.
People walking down the hallway with poop running down their legs?
No, we came through 4 years where people thought that were the powers that be. The geniuses in Washington said, if you walk down different aisles in the grocery store, a respiratory virus that literally stays in the air for hours will somehow be mitigated by magic fairy thinking.
All right. You just actually brought back a memory. I hoped it evaded my mind
seriously,
for the past
lines
5 years.
in Safeway, and you think shitting in a lineup in Disney is bad? When these geniuses said, if you're 6 feet away, somehow that's going to help.
I was just about to say that, but I said the bad memory of having to walk down different lines in Safeway, different aisles in Safeway in different directions was one I had forgotten until you mentioned it. And honestly, old ladies. It was old ladies that would be bitching me out if I did it the wrong way.
Oh no, you don't go down the wrong.
No. Oh,
No,
the
no,
evil eye and the uh, just nasty comments. And we're living in a town like 8,500 people, and lo and behold, if I walked down the wrong way, their whole world was going to come to an end. People. Anyway, that's why I'm drinking a cocktail.
And people go, geez, how did people live in the shadow of? I'm not even going to say.
Anyway,
All right.
I know we all have our issues, but yeah, that was a bad time.
No, so
It was
so
a bad time in history.
Okay. So this actually happened. They FOIA'd the documents from Pfizer.
We're talking about that again.
No, just listen. They FOIA'd the documents from Pfizer, and the lawyers that went to defend not releasing the documents for 70 plus years were actually FDA lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes,
so the watchdog that's supposed to watchdog the pharmaceutical industry was the ones that argued against the FOIA.
Right.
And you think taking a shit in the Pirates of the Caribbean line is weird?
No, I wouldn't say.
No, I'm saying.
I'm not saying weird, just like disgusting. You can hide behind the shield of the bureaucracy and politics, but
I think
when your butt is right out there, and everybody with their videos and Snapchat and Instagram can stream it live. I mean, come on.
Like every other problem in the world, I could solve this in probably 5 minutes. Number one, put a freaking bathroom in the line if you're going to be in line for 2.5 hours. Okay, you're selling corn dogs. And you're selling beers, and you don't think someone's going to have to take a pee or a poo. That's number one. Number two, if you put a sign up, Disney, that says, if you have IBS, this line is going to destroy your life, because you're going to be in this line for 2.5 hours of IBS hell for a 10-minute ride that pulls 4 Gs of gravity. And it's going to literally pull the
This is like the McDonald's hot coffee. If you had to put a sign up to tell people, they're going to have to wait at
there's
Disney.
more to the McDonald's hot coffee than you say. But whatever, we digress. Let's go to the next.
Well, we can disagree.
Story.
There we end that on a disagreement, you and I, and that's how it usually ends.
Yeah, I mean, look, you shouldn't. It's common sense. Don't take a dump in a line of an amusement park. That's pretty.
There's children present.
Pretty low level stuff, like things I should have learned in kindergarten, or things I did.
It's not the third world, and it's
don't
take exactly as Tim said.
But in the long lines, I mean, come on. I mean, like there's Disney people that are real. Like this is kind of like their visitation with the Pope.
Oh,
and so whatever, it's all good.
What next have you got? Oh, well, actually, it's my turn. Alrighty. So let's just say, as I posted up there.
So we have a picture of an agar plate.
We have a picture of fried rice. And a lovely, and it's an agar plate, which is the Petri dish filled with agar, that red stuff. If you don't know what that is a gelatinous material that grows bacteria in a lab. And on top of it is this beautiful white stuff that looks almost like powdered sugar. But if you can't zoom in on that and look up close, it is quite waxy in appearance. There's a hint word for you for this quiz I'm going to give you, Tim.
Waxy.
Which is growing a bacteria. And so what does that have in common? Any guesses? Well, that's the topic of tonight. And what is fried rice syndrome, and why is suddenly everyone so scared of it? Well, this actually blew up a couple months ago before Christmas in November. The trending social media topic of fried rice syndrome caused by a bacteria that was growing on there called Bacillus cereus. Any hints on why it's called Bacillus cereus?
Because it's serious.
It's very, very, very serious.
But it's serious spelled with a C.
Yeah, and it's not from cereal. I remember when we were in virology and immunology and taking all these classes in pathology, and I thought Bacillus cereus came from infected cereal, and it can grow in grains. But the basic of Bacillus is usually gram-negative rod-shaped bacteria, and cereus means waxy from a French word, I believe. So there you go. It looks kind of waxy on the surface. But getting to the nitty-gritty, fried rice syndrome has been around for a long time, but recently got great recognition from a sad case. And ironically, what happened was there was the death about 15 years ago of a young man due to this condition, and it just got blown up again. So they were going into the history of what happened. This case, I looked it up, was originally reported in the Journal of Clinical Microbiology in 2011. And the case reports that in October of 2008, a 20-year-old man became sick after eating a meal of leftovers of spaghetti with tomato sauce. So there's no fried rice in this one, which had been prepared 5 days before and left in the kitchen at room temperature. Apparently, he was a meal prepper, and I think that's what they were hinting at. But some people do like to prepare all their meals for the week and stack them in the fridge, or lo and behold, please don't leave them on the countertop. But this was left in the kitchen at room temperature for 5 days. After school, he warmed
for 5 days.
Yeah. But this is an extreme case. After school, he warmed the spaghetti in the microwave oven. Immediately after eating, he left home for his sports activities, returned 30 minutes later, said that that sauce tasted funny, but he thought it was because of a new sauce. And then started to complain within a half an hour of headache, abdominal pain, nausea, and he vomited profusely for a couple of hours, went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night with watery diarrhea, drank some water. The next morning at 11 a.m., his parents were worried because he didn't get up. And when they found him, he was dead.
Okay, so let me just get this timeline correct. He makes the spaghetti. He leaves it for 5 hours. He rewarms it in the microwave, but doesn't eat it for 2 hours.
He makes the spaghetti. Someone made the spaghetti. We don't know if he did, if he brought it home from a restaurant.
His cat made the spaghetti. I don't give a shit.
He made it and used some new sauce and left it on the counter for 5 days.
Oh, not 5 hours.
Oh, wait, sorry. It had been prepared 5 days ago. And then he, I think, took it out and left it on the counter at room temperature. It doesn't say how long in this. It was on the counter specifically. It doesn't say if it was on the counter for 5 days. It was 5 days old, and then he took it out and it sat on the counter. Okay. So they did an analysis of his body. He had severe liver decompensation.
No, it literally melted his liver down,
basically.
right? Like
yes.
That bug melts your liver down.
Yeah, moderate liver necrosis.
Holy shit. Necrosis?
Lysis of the adrenal glands.
Oh.
And colonization throughout his body with serious severe cardiac insufficiency, vascular congestion of the lungs. He went septic.
His heart stopped and he died. Okay, I hate that stuff. It's like cardiac insufficiency. Well, he's dead.
Yeah.
I think cardiac insufficiency is part of dead.
So here we go. That, we're not sure if it was sitting on the counter, if it was 5 days old. It sat at some room temperature, but there have been cases of this happening in food sitting out on the counter for even very short periods of time, even just hours. So what's happening here? So this has been actually documented since the beginning of Chinese fried rice. And so it took me into a deep dive on
how come every single freaking biological pathogen that wants to kill the entire world is from China?
Yeah. So that was spaghetti. But originally, this was noted way back and recorded to the earliest, well, not the earliest record of fried rice, which was found during the Sui dynasty of 618 CE. CE stands for
Common Era. It's AD. These unchristian pieces of crap.
So stir frying food and using the fried rice became a thing, and because they're using the leftover rice, and they had all this leftover meat and vegetables, and so they would take the rice and throw it together, and every region of China, Hong Kong, Asia has their own little spin on it. Hence, when you order fried rice at a different restaurant, a different type of cuisine, a different country, wherever you are, tastes different, which always bugged me. But basically, as we all know,
because it has different levels of bacteria in it, right?
So the staple ingredient in it is the rice, a starch, and they mix it together using soy sauce, lard, garlic, seasoning, etc. And the history of fried rice syndrome dates back into around the 1600s, where they document people actually starting to die from this at different times. So what's happening is there's two different ways that the food can get contaminated. It's not always rice or pastas on grains, but it can actually travel on meat, vegetables as well. And this bacteria is very unique in that it is very hearty and it does not get killed easily by heat, but it also produces a toxin. So what can happen is if it's contaminated slightly and there's a bacteria and you cook it to adequate temperature and you heat it up and cook it at least over 100 degrees Celsius, usually you're killing off most of the bacteria. But sometimes it doesn't kill off some of the bacteria or some of the spores. So what happens is you take this food and you set it out on the counter to cool, or you don't refrigerate it, or you put it in a fridge that's not adequate at the right temperature, or you take it out and you leave it on the counter, then the bacteria will produce toxic spores. So the toxic spores also, those are the things that cause the more serious illness. So if you get a mild case of infection, usually what happens is you develop symptoms within the first 1 to 6 hours of vomiting. So you'll get severe abdominal cramps, vomiting, nausea, vomiting for that last usually up to 24 hours maximum, because you're vomiting out all the bacteria. Your body wants to repel it right away. If, however, it has spores attached to it, or it's sometimes contaminated and you eat it and the spores start to multiply in your gut, then what happens is you usually develop a case of severe intestinal diarrhea, profuse watery diarrhea that usually can come on 8 to 12 hours later, and usually you're a lot sicker. You can get dehydration.
So is the most dangerous part the toxin? Because usually in bacterial infections that kill you, it's the toxin, it's not the bacteria.
So in most cases, yes.
Let's time out there here for a sec.
Dangerous.
So bacterias do their infection thing, but they also do toxin things. Not all bacteria, but some. So they actually release poisons.
Yes.
Which makes sense because they're also trying to defend themselves.
Plants are trying to kill you.
100%. And so is bacteria, but not all bacteria. Most bacteria is good. It lives happily in your gut, making you not crazy. But I digress. Yes. So the point is this, is that the toxic release of from these bacteria is often the most dangerous because it is literally like poison being injected. And so that's one of the problems with meningococcemia. So if you have meningitis and you kill those bastards, they release toxins which are unbelievably inflammatory. Yes. So we used to treat people with steroids to lower the inflammatory response, but we realized they didn't do a damn thing because it's a toxic reaction. It's not necessarily an inflammatory response. So toxins are trying to kill you. Right. And plants and bacteria release toxins. Yeah. Unless they are bathed in blue ice vodka. That's in which case
everything dies in alcohol, right? Anyway, we've known about this for a long time. It's a common organism in the environment. It's usually common in soil, vegetation, different plant and animal products. Common, like I said, on starchy things like grains and rice. There's about 63,000 outbreaks of this in the United States yearly.
63,000?
Yeah, but most cases are short-lived, and people get better on their own within hours with hydrating, and you vomit out pass it on your own through your system, and you're okay. There are some cases, though, sadly, where it can cause sepsis, infect your liver, organ system failure, and those are related to the degree of toxin present. So the more toxin, the more serious illness. Yeah. So
did you get a death stat on that? How many people die from this a year?
I did not. I'll have to look that
one up. Because we have a newborn monoclonal antibody for RSV for a disease that kills somewhere between like 50 and 500 kids a year. And they want to inject every single newborn with this for an agent that we have 0 long-term effects on. Why would you need long-term effects on somebody that has 90 years potential to live? I don't know. Maybe because they have 90 years to live. But I digress.
But you digress. So
here's going to be
some fun
There's going to be a vaccine for this shit. You watch.
This bacteria, though.
You want to go to a Chinese food restaurant? You're going to need to have. You want to even look at China? You're going to need to get fried rice vaccine.
Exactly.
Fried rice vax.
I'm a geek and I like this stuff.
Like this, seriously, like
this is basically the cockroach or your backdoor possum bacteria, because it is hard to kill. So they have this endospore protective coating on it. It's called an endospore that is like a hard case shell, and they're like resistant to ultraviolet radiation, desiccation, high temperature, extreme freezing, chemical disinfectants. All that stuff doesn't touch it. Is literally.
So these are literally like the cockroach of the.
That's what I said. They could survive at 100 degrees centigrade for hours. Yeah, it's nuts. So basically, it's kind of freaky. It makes me want to never eat out again. But what happens then?
I love Chinese food.
Cooking. So if you cook your food to less than 100 degrees, you could be in trouble. And the problem is compounded, obviously, when the food is then improperly refrigerated, allowing the endospores to germinate. So if you cook your rice and you want to make it into fried rice later, don't leave it on the counter to sit and cool for hours and days.
But that's standard fried rice shit.
Yeah. So I'm saying this to a friend who likes to make rice and then let it sit there to dry out for hours. Not a good thing. Okay. So the gist of it is properly cook your food, properly refrigerate your food promptly, and reheat it to the correct temperature.
So not like that turkey that we left out about 20 years ago when the cat jumped up on the table and we had a turkey that was cooling on the counter and a bunch of little tiny cat mouth bites. And then we looked over on the couch and the cat was like in turkey coma for about 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
He ate so much tryptophan laced turkey meat that he was essentially worthless.
I think we've told that story before, but
I know, but it's so funny. Like we looked at the turkey and there's like a million little cat mouth bites. And then this cat that's just like in agony.
So anyway, don't be a statistic. I'll have to look up what the death rate of that is. But anyway.
Well, I don't think it's high. We'd know way more about it. And Pfizer would have a vaccine for it if.
Yeah. Anyways.
They would. So, I'm just saying.
So there you go. Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying
USDA
they would have.
Actually says to cook foods at 135 degrees or higher until they are served.
Okay, what's 135 degrees? Don't talk.
You use a meat thermometer.
No, 135 degrees Fahrenheit or 135 degrees communist China.
Well, there's only 135 degrees if you're in the U.S. Fahrenheit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like that's what I need to know.
Okay.
That's easy.
And
I've been watching a lot of All in the Family, and I realize I have become Archie Bunker. Don't talk to me.
Refrigerate all perishable foods within 2 hours. Make sure the refrigerator is at least below 40. Check your refrigerator. It's a lot of people don't do that.
That's true.
And you need to have your refrigerator 40 degrees or less. Okay. And anyway, I'm giving some tips here. And then don't eat leftovers in your refrigerator. This is for you, Tim, that have been there more than 4 days.
Well, then I would be dead about 400
When
times.
in doubt, throw it out. Don't
Yeah,
eat
whatever.
expired or food past 4 days.
Yeah.
He's a human garbage can and will eat it. I will not. So that's some tips. If you're not sure, look it up. But yeah, now you can all be afraid to eat fried rice from a Chinese food restaurant. Although I would not be too afraid
No,
because
from a restaurant, I would not be afraid.
They go through that stuff so quickly.
No, I would not be afraid of that because they have a gigantic rice pot that cooks rice continuously, and then they take the rice out and they fry it, and then
well,
they serve
how do
it
you
to
know? Did you work in a restaurant?
No, but whatever.
Anyway.
If you're not hearing meowing around the restaurant, I would be fairly comfortable. And plus, they're inspected. Your house is not inspected, and you leave it. Whatever, it's all good. Next story. Holy moly!
Well, that looks frightening.
That
is
is
that
a
you
door.
Is that you skydiving?
Well, no, but I have taken parachutes. I have taken fully functional parachutes onto commercial airlines, and it is the funnest thing in the world to see people's faces. It's like if the door plug explodes, I'm leaving you bitches. So, anyways, so you what was it? Alaska Airlines just leaving Portland had a door plug leave.
I hate that word, but
no, but it is. We'll explain what it is.
Door plug.
A door plug.
What? It's not a door.
No, it's not a door. I'll explain what that is. It exited the vehicle at high speed. Very important point at 16,000 feet. What is a door plug? So, depending on how the seats are configured in an aircraft, they have to have a certain number of exit doors. The way this plane was configured, it did not need an exit door at the seat line where the plug was put in. So then they put in a door plug. So the plane's made with a door there. So they have to plug the hole. So they have the door plug, and it's got a bunch of bolts and whatever, and then it gets plugged in there, and everything's good. And they got to 16,000 feet. The plane is obviously pressurized.
Decided to leave prematurely,
and the door exploded out of the side of the plane. Caused what we call an explosive decompression. Everyone got their masks on.
Wait. I have questions. So you say everyone got their masks on. So the oxygen mask descended from heaven, and then they had to take off. This is the Pacific Northwest. So were they already wearing face masks?
Oh yeah,
that they had to take off before they.
No, they had to take off their S&M masks. Like whatever. It's like Portland. God knows what they had on their face. So they have to take off their puppy mask for their S&M festival, or their furry head, or whatever the hell they were.
Anyway, so they had to put on oxygen masks,
right?
And
the plane happily turned around and went back to Portland, and they're like, "My God, there's a door open on the aircraft. I can smell the shit wafting up from the streets of Portland, from the fecal incontinence."
Now to the important, serious part: was anybody injured?
No. No, people were injured. No one was seriously injured.
Define seriously.
Everyone has been checked out and given the FDA stamp of approval and left the hospital, and all's good. So this was a complete and total save from that regard. Why was it a save? It was a save for one reason and one reason only. It happened at 16,000 feet.
Instead of
35,000 feet. Okay. So this got me down the rabbit hole of explosive decompression. Now, here is one of my guilty pleasures.
Explosive decompression sounds like what happened after your diverticulation.
Yes, it did. Explosive 100%.
Oh, I'm funny. Is
no,
anybody
that's good.
Laugh at
that
me
is
now?
unbelievable.
Nobody's going to laugh at my joke. You're only here for Tim's.
Whatever.
I get it. It's okay. Abbott, Costello, or, I'm Edith. He's Archie. Go for it. No one's going to laugh.
No, they're going to laugh. That was funny as hell. Don't self-deprecate yourself after you already made it funny.
I'm good at it.
I'm the one that has the Sharpay head. Anyway,
right.
So
go ahead, Arch.
So they had an explosive decompression, which has happened several times on aircraft. Not very often, but several times. And so it got me down the rabbit hole of explosive decompressions. Explosive decompressions on an aircraft, a pressurized aircraft, which is essentially every plane that flies over 10,000 feet, are catastrophes that you cannot even imagine. So when has this happened before? Well, there was one in 2018.
I remember over in Hawaii. Goodbye, flight attendant.
There was two in Hawaii, which is not good. So there was one in the last
Is
one
that
was
why
in,
Alaska bought out Hawaiian Airlines?
no, it wasn't Hawaiian Airlines. There was one in 2018 where they lost a window, which is the most common cause of an explosive decompression. The definition of an explosive decompression is when you lose cabin pressure in half a second.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is usually something breaks off the airplane, like they lose part of the rotor of the engine and it takes out a window. And then what happens is if you're sitting next to that window and you're above 30,000 feet, you get Monica Lewinsky'd all the way out the window. So in 2018, this woman had her seatbelt on appropriately. She got halfway blown out the window and was killed from blunt force trauma because she was like beating against the side of the airplane, which would be god awful.
Sounds horrific.
Correct. In 1973, it happened. The guy had a seatbelt on, but very loosely fastened, and it sucked a grown ass man at 32,000 feet all the way out of the airplane, and like it, boom, like gone. It took 2 years to find the body. 2 years to find the body. And to answer the question, Stacy's question, it's actually not really suction, it's explosion. It's pushing you out because there's very low pressure outside and very high pressure in. So the airplane is essentially a balloon and you're popping the balloon. So that's the most correct way to think about it. So,
and then there was the one where it was a flight attendant. I think the whole seat got sucked out.
No.
Her in it, just like an ejection seat.
No, they completely lost about 10% of the roof of Aloha Airlines plane, and that was really high. That was like over 20,000, and she just kind of like
ejected.
Boom, gone. See you later. Ejection seat. I don't think they lost another person, and they were able to land the plane safely. So that was really amazing because that was a catastrophic decompression. But again, it depends on how high it is. All right. So that's a really critical piece to this puzzle. So then you get to, there was another one out of Hawaii that lost the cargo door blew up and blew off half, like about 4 or 5 sections of seats, and they all got sucked out and pulled through the engines. And,
anyway,
it would be a fast way to go, like very fast. Yes. How many points do I get for getting sucked through a 747 engine? Can someone please tell me? My wife wants to know. Anyway, so there's that. So here's the problem.
Didn't we talk about that before on some of the stupid coding diagnoses that we've seen?
Yes, suck through jet engine.
We did a whole
that's good memory, man.
Episode on that.
Sucked through jet engine.
Back in 2021 on ICD-9 codes ridiculousness. That is one of them. So if it's happened, there's a code for it.
Here's the thing that gets really crazy and why this accident with Alaska Airlines is such a big freaking deal. It is a major league problem. Most of the time, there's an explosive decompression. Decompressions is one thing, right? Like if you slowly leak out air, you can drop masks, you can keep everybody alive. The pilots have tons of time. They pull their mask out, they put it on, they fly the plane down they rapidly descend to 10,000 feet. Everybody's happy because commercial airplanes are pressurized to about between 6,500 and 7,500 feet. So they're not pressurized to sea level. I mean, which would be insane. They're pressurized to about 6,500 or 7,500 feet. Mm-hmm. So all you have to do is get to about 10 to 12,000 feet and everybody survives. So what gets really weird is this happened at 16,000 feet, and this was a catastrophic decompression. What if a decompression happened at 32,000 or 35,000, where most planes fly, of a door plug? Because the door plug is massive. It's like, 7, 8, 9, 10 times bigger than a window. I would contend, based on the principle of what is called time of useful consciousness, which is literally something they graph based on altitude, that you would have a very, very good chance of having everybody be unconscious so quickly that the plane would become a zombie plane.
And I bet you're going to tell us a story about how that just happened.
It did not just happen.
Well, not just how that has happened.
So the fact
am I correct?
is,
Am I reading your mind?
right. So here's the not like we didn't discuss this. So the fact is, and then I go to Gordon Lightfoot. If you could read my mind, girl, you would have been in a man. Anyways, I play 3 chords and made money. Anyway, so it goes from 3-chord, man. Who doesn't love chord? So here's the deal: is what if you got that side? Like this is exactly what they're thinking at Boeing, and they are absolutely shitting their pants over this. If that would have happened,
are they in line at Disneyland?
Well, clearly they are. If they would have had this happen at 32 or 33 or 35,000 feet, they would have had a very high potential of a zombie plane, because at those altitudes, within a very explosive decompression, not only can you stroke out from decompression sickness, not only does it instantly turn foggy and you can't see, but you have maybe 8 seconds to get your gas mask, or not your gas mask, your oxygen mask on, and descend the plane rapidly to higher density.
Well, it is a gas mask.
So what happens if that doesn't happen and everyone's unconscious?
It's end up a TV episode of something. There's a TV show about those people on. Someone out there in my wide world of fan base. What's the name of that TV show where it's about an airplane? People go Lost. And then they come back. No, that's an island. There's another one where they come back on a plane and it's 5 years later. Remember. Are they all in zombie land for 5 years? So anyways, you end up with a zombie plane. What happens with a zombie plane? What happens with a zombie plane is it flies on autopilot till it runs out of gas. And you can't control it because there's no radio controlled like zombie plane mechanism. And it crashes into whatever the hell it wants to. Come on. What about autopilot?
No, that's the problem. The problem is autopilot. It autopilots itself till it runs out of gas.
Oh, sorry.
And if it happens to be over Chicago, it plows into Chicago.
So wait, that's what happened at the World Trade Center? I knew it was a conspiracy.
Yeah, right. That was.
My son.
Let's not even open that can. Please do not open that can. So anyways, has a zombie plane ever existed before? The answer is abso-freaking-lutely.
Of course.
And it was very, very famous at the time.
And you're going to tell us all about it.
100%. So
the clock is ticking, dear.
The clock is ticking. So the zombie plane was Payne Stewart, the professional golfer, took off from Orlando in 1999. And he was going to fly to Dallas in a Learjet. And the plane got to the panhandle of Florida, which is not very far. And it did not turn to the west. It continued flying. And they called the plane and it went through all these controlled zones and no one could get a hold of it. And finally, they scrambled fighter jets. And they scrambled fighter jets from several different fighter bases to like, what the hell's going on with this plane? And what they found is, because they would fly right up next to it, they would not see any control input from pilots. And the glass was all fogged over on the inside of the cockpit. They couldn't see into the passenger compartment. And what they could see into the cockpit, they couldn't see anybody moving. And they're like, these guys are dead. This is a catastrophic decompression problem. There was no obvious wound to the outside of the plane. Clearly something happened where they lost cabin pressure rapidly enough where they couldn't descend and get their masks on. And the plane flew for almost 4 hours until it crashed into.
They didn't take it out purposely.
South Dakota. But the story gets crazier.
So the military let it fly into South Dakota?
No, the military was literally escorting it because they're like, it was heading straight for Winnipeg, Manitoba. Oh. And the prime minister at the time, Jean Chrétien, authorized the Canadian Air Force, which means they were authorized their one plane to take it out if it crossed the Canadian border and was still on track to Winnipeg, because Winnipeg's like damn near 1 million people, and you can't have dead golfers flying into Portage, Maine, and
Right.
taking out your city.
That didn't happen. It went into South Dakota
And just crashed.
And then what did they find?
You know, the NTSB, I have a guilty pleasure of watching all these airline crash disaster shows. And what they found was they tried to say kind of pilot error, but it doesn't make sense. It was they had a catastrophic decompression.
I know what happened.
They were all in line for the toilet because they were just in Disney World.
They all had fried rice syndrome. And they were in line for the toilet.
Clearly. And then it decompressed and they couldn't walk back to the cockpit. And
that's the end of the story.
Yeah. No, it was very interesting because they said even small leaks or like certain kinds of failures could cause decompression so quickly that you wouldn't be able to get.
So you mean that little kid that's behind me kicking the shit out of the back of my seat and the window could shatter it and cause a slow leakage?
No, but he could have an unfortunate event where the window cracked open.
It's covered in red juice.
No, he would be ejected to heaven. So yes.
All right. Well, that was
explosive
a very
explosive decompression. I just love saying that.
In-depth.
Explosive decompression. Wouldn't that be a great name for a metal band? Explosive decompression.
It would. It would. I think you should patent that name. I have to say, you're very fascinated with airplane stories, poop stories, and of course, poop and airplane stories together. We all know that. And no, we don't need a recap of the. No.
Diverting for massive shitstorm on aircraft.
All right, I have to put this up. This is a question for you from Stacy. Will you ever go to Disney and stand in the line or fly in a plane?
No, of course I will. No, whether I go to Disney has zero.
We have gone to Disney too many times.
Yes, so
with our children, Disney World. We've stood in line. Our daughter had to pee. Didn't she have to pee when we were in the line to the Yeti ride? It was cold and raining.
No, the Yeti ride. The Yeti ride, she was wailing and screaming and crying because she was so scared. And I stood there and I said, we stood in line for 45 minutes. Get in the car. And like everyone around me was like, you are a monster.
Now,
you're a monster.
Here's what I'm going to say. I grew up flying in planes. I think there's a picture of me. I think I flew in a plane before I rode in a car. I come from a family of flyers and pilots. And the generation continues. And I will always ride in a plane. If you look at the stats of accidents in planes compared to cars, I'm happy in a plane. I'm scared in a car, especially where we live. I'm more scared of someone showing their ass cheeks at Disneyland and taking a dump. That's more likely than a plane accident.
Yeah, no. The more I watch plane disaster documentaries, the more confident I am in the system.
Yes.
You know, it's the NTSB running, and it's the AF. It's not. Look, if the FDA ran aircraft, I'd probably be scared.
Okay, this is actually fun. So one last question. I think we should hire her to do our random questions at the end of a podcast episode for our guests because these are fun. Okay, would you trust a ride in a bus or a UFO?
I legitimately
a bus
in a UFO.
Buses freak me out.
No, in a UFO. That's easy.
There's a lot of weird stuff that happen on city buses. Remember the Greyhound bus where you had to? Oh, I had to take that thing all the time. 8 hours on a bus to get to university and back. A UFO would be fun and an adventure. So,
well, if I'm going to get anally probed, would you rather it be
at the gastroenterologist
the fentanyl addict on a bus? Or the long, spindly finger of an alien? I'm telling you, I'll pick alien every time.
Fifth on that one. All right. Well,
she said, and why?
No, well, let's not answer the why.
Seriously.
Next question.
Seriously.
All righty. Well, this has been a very delightful episode from poo to fried rice syndrome with poo, and then planes. See, it always comes back to the same topics for Tim. And we love interacting with our audience. It makes it so much more fun. That's what I love about these Doctales episodes.
Maybe my next job will be an NTSB examiner. The problem is I would be making jokes about the stuff blowing up and not actually taking the 19 gazillion little tiny pieces that they found on the ground and putting them together. Plus, get this. Before they found the door plug in the Portland school teacher's tree, which is the honest to God truth, they found it there. They found a cell phone. They found an iPhone in a ditch out of the aircraft that was still in airplane mode that fell 16,000 feet at 19 gajillion miles an hour, and it still worked.
Wow. And it was probably Siri saying, I cannot hear you. Open your iPhone first before I can complete that command.
Seriously, that's...
Oh, wow.
16,000 feet. I mean, I've dropped it from 4 and had the screen explode. So maybe I need to just drop my phone from 16,000 feet from now on. Well, yeah, no, the phone worked.
Well, if you want to drop from 16,000 feet. Anyway, this has been a delight. All right. I guess we will see you guys again at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And if you're way back on the sad West Coast, I'm sorry, but it is 4 p.m. Pacific time.
It's early.
And it's a good way to kick off your evening, or watch this on the replay when it's cocktail hour for you. We are coming to you every Wednesday here. Tomorrow, check out the show with the guest interviews. And we have
Mike Simpson, medical badass.
Yeah, it's actually a great episode. We have truth bombs that come out today, a little bit of philosophical deep thinking, and the Truth Serum newsletter. Please sign up for that. You get some fun thoughts from myself and Tim now and then, as well as photos of what we've been up to for the week. Sometimes sign up for that. It's easy to do on our website, actually easier to do on the Instagram page. Other than that, shoot us an email, thoughts, suggestions. I would love to hear suggestions about what you guys would like to hear us talk about. Something different to think about. So until next week, sayonara, tuning out. See y'all later.